Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. I hope you've all had a good week so far, as good as it can be in this chaos that we call the coronavirus pandemic. Things are progressively getting, more challenging, I guess. I don't like to say worse, because with every shadow and all that, there's some light. And, although the news neglect to tell you about all of the positives and the enhancements we've made in pharmaceuticals and research and sociology and all the rest of it. They don't tell you that; they just tell you the rubbish. Anyway, lots and lots going on. It's going crazy over here. So I want to talk about quite a bit of stuff today. I want to first of all say that if you're listening to this for the first time ever, this is the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. So if you've never heard any of these podcasts before, be sure to go back and listen to episode 1 and start there. But this week I'm going to be talking about, because I kind of take you on a journey through what I did to become financially independent by the time I was 30, and you can go and do the same if you go and follow the advice. And funnily enough, many of the people who have followed that advice are the ones that are very, very thankful at times like these, because now they're in control. They're not running around in that kind of animal mindset where they're driven by fear and they're kind of running around wondering what they're going to do. They're fretful, they're fearful, and if you've applied what I've taught over the last year in this podcast, you'll be in a very good situation, be in a very good position right now. So if you don't want this to happen again, I suggest you go and listen to episode 1 and work your way through these podcasts and implement the action steps in the podcast. So really, I wanted to carry on from a little video I did really earlier on in the week. It was called The Concern is Causing the Concern, and really how the coronavirus was causing a reaction in the market that, if you're prepared for it, you're able to use it to, not your advantage, but you're able to, it's able to accelerate your wealth instead of you losing money and being on the other side. And it's all down to kind of how people react to this news. So for instance, we've seen a big drop in the funds, the mutual funds, the index funds. We've seen the FTSE, we've seen the S&P 500 drop massively, at which point I'm putting more money than ever into my passive investments. Whereas on the trading side, last Monday, on the open Sunday night through to Monday morning, and then Monday night to Tuesday morning, I had about 6 hours in total trading, and it was my best trading session ever since I began trading. I did pretty much just over a third of my average annual returns in that 6-hour trading session. So pretty crazy, and it's all because, one, I was prepared with to allocate more funds to my passive investments. 2, I was prepared to short the fear-driven sellers and ride that move down on multiple markets as well. But I'm with my family, and they're kind of seeing all this going on. They don't really understand what my skill and how I'm able to make money in the markets. And we were due to go on holiday this weekend, which has now been cancelled. But my wife said to me, why aren't they cancelling flights because of the common flu? And really, I started talking about how it's not the virus that actually causes the problem. It's not the virus at all. It's a knock-on effect of what the virus, the panic and the mass hysteria from the masses of the population are causing to really shoot themselves in the foot. And that is the problem. That's why the flights aren't flying, right? It's not the actual virus. The virus isn't a very strong virus. It's actually not a very strong virus. I think we've still only had like 3,000 cases in the UK of 68 million people, and we've had 100 deaths, right, out of 68 million people. That's not a strong virus when you compare it to the common cold and flu, which kills about 58,000 people a year in this country, about 500,000 people worldwide, and last year, I think it was about 627,000 people in the UK hospitalised for that thing. So in terms of that, it's not the actual flu, it's not the virus, it's how people are reacting. So I kind of took the analogy of you're going down the motorway and you're doing 70 miles an hour and the car at the front brakes really, really hard. And if the car in the front brakes really, really hard, they know why they're braking, okay? It might be them not paying attention. It might be something on the road, but the thing on the road might be stationary, it might be debris, it might be an animal, it might be a human being walking, it might be a car, it might be a swerve. Whatever it might be, only that driver knows the truth, and yet every single driver behind them brakes hard and copies the person in front. So as we brake and brake and brake and get further and further back, we cause a traffic jam. That's what causes a traffic jam, right? Now the problem is, when that traffic jam happens, it takes a lot longer for cars to start moving. Who's ever been in a traffic jam when you think, we're stuck in here for an hour, we got to the front, there's nothing there? And only the driver at the front will know the truth. And the further and further you get back is more hearsay, rumours, assumptions, opinions, and everyone's just copying the person in front, but to a different degree, to a different level. And it's a great analogy because when we hit a recession, that's essentially what happens. But it's not because of there was the thing on the road. It's because of how the people react to the thing on the road and how we follow others and how this herd mentality allows us to really shoot ourselves in the foot. And what I was talking about was, I gave an example of a convention. Okay, let's just say that we were going to host a big convention. Now, the convention we were meant to be hosting in April, which is called the Trader Vault, we've had to move now to October, but this is what happens, right? The convention, people say, I don't want to come to the convention because there's going to be a lot of people there. I'm fearful of coming to the convention. The virus isn't at the convention, by the way, but someone makes a decision to say, I'm not coming. Then the next person says, I'm not coming. The next person says, I'm not coming either. They're not coming either. Oh, if they're not going, we're not going. And the convention centre or the hotel that hosts it says, look, we're going to have to refund your money, or we can't open the hotel because there's not enough people coming to this thing. We can't fill the room. And the organisers say, well, we can't run the convention, so we'll cancel the convention. And then the airline that's driving everyone, that flies everyone to the convention, let's just say it's a huge convention, the airline says, well, we've got no passengers because no one's coming to the convention. If you've cancelled the convention, no one can come. So we're not going to bring anyone from this country, that country. And they say, we're going to lay off, we're going to ground some of our flights. We've lost half of our flights, say, right, for the day. And then the taxi drivers that are going to take people to the airport are saying, well, there's no one going to the airport now, so I'm going to lay off some taxi drivers. I'm going to work a couple of hours and I'm not going to do that shift or that shift. And it has this massive knock-on effect, huge knock-on effect. And it's really the concern causing the concern, and it's people shooting themselves in the foot. We've seen it with panic buying. We've seen it with people not going out and going about their life normally, but just taking precautions and being clean and being, washing their hands and all the rest of it. But we've seen people buying more than they should, and even if they just bought their normal week shopping, there'd be enough for everyone still, and there wouldn't be this mass panic. And it's just because they're following the driver in front. And that's what happens, and it's that causes a recession. And once that traffic jam comes to a halt, you're talking months and months and months before this thing starts to pick up. Probably 18 months to 2 years. This is going to be the biggest crash ever that we know of in this generation. It's literally like we've come from an age of instant gratification, having everything we want, the information age, everything's available, questions, answers in seconds, got encyclopedias in it on our phone, we've got the answer to everything. We've got such a, accessibility is so abundant to everything. And we've just gone back to the war. Right? We've just gone back 70 odd years and we're now having to deal with rations and all this mass panic where we can't even leave our homes. That is not going to be easy for people to deal with. It's really not going to be easy for people to deal with. And of course, it's going to cause hype hysteria. And I think social media, obviously, I think the reason that this is so dramatic this time is because the media are everywhere. Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, they're feeding kids. The kids are talking about it. The kids are talking about it, right? The kids' friends are talking about it. It's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. It's on Twitter. It's on every single time you open your phone. There's a notification of a new update on coronavirus and how it's causing problems and how the world's going to end, right? And because of that spread and that the ability for them to spread fear that easily is there, it's causing mass hysteria. And what I want to talk about is when people are in this kind of mindset, it's very easy to start, being driven by that animalistic part of your brain, the amygdala. The amygdala kicks in, it's for survival, it's thinking, what am I going to do? We need to keep things going. And instead of seeing it as an opportunity to reevaluate your situation and think, actually, I don't want this to happen again. I want to prepare for the next time this happens. I want to make sure that I'm evolving and moving forward. Instead, people think closer to home. And it's like they bury their head in the sand and say, I just want to get this working. If I can just see this through, I'm going to be all right. And that's not always a great plan, because what I've seen recently is the government, right? They're giving out loans. They're giving out loans to businesses, like £60,000 loans. And those loans are going to be taken up by people who can't see 2 feet in front of their face. So they're going to be grabbing the money. And what they're going to do is try and fight fire with fire. They're going to go back to their old way, try and get what they're already doing working, because that's what they know, to quickly get a quick buck. And guess what? If this happens again, they're going to be in the same situation. They're going to be in the same situation. This is a force of evolution. This is telling everyone you need to adapt, you need to grow. And what the government are also doing is offering deferred tax. So I see a massive problem here. I don't know about everyone else, but imagine the government as a company, and we're in this time of need where the economy is taking a dip, right? Imagine your company lending out money right now, worst time to lend money, and secondly, you're saying, don't bother paying our invoices for the next few months because, we'll just delay it for you. So cash flow becomes a huge problem. So the government are not only lending money, but they're also saying, don't bother paying us. They're deferring tax. Everyone's got the option to defer tax now. Now, that's going to attract the people that really are desperate and really, really need it, but they're not the ones that are going to innovate. So this is what's going to happen. One of the things I've seen happen recently is lots and lots of firms are forced, probably something they should have done ages ago, but now all of a sudden they've been forced to do it. They're pushing all their workers to work remotely from home. And what I think is going to happen is when you get big law firms and big firms that didn't think that was even possible but are now making it work, right? They're now going to think, why didn't we do this ages ago? And they're going to go, this is so much more profitable. We don't have to pay £50 a square foot for this office in Mayfair. We've got people being more productive because they're working from home. They don't have to get deflated by that 2-hour commute every day to and from. We've got people who are energetic. They're doing more for the business. It's so much more efficient. It's so much more cheaper for the business. And it's making people more loyal. And, what they're going to do is they're going to go, we don't actually need all this office space. So what we're going to do is we're going to see a load of office commercial buildings. Landlords who are doing fit outs and refurbishments for tenants are going to go, hold that thought. I've just had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenants drop out on me. I'm not going to spend my money refurbishing this business. How about we just leave that? And the people that are going to get loans are the ones that are going to go and be working on those projects. So they're going to get a loan and deferring the tax, and then they're going to get their little business working, go and work in the office building to do the refurbishment, and the landlord's going to say, we're not doing that refurbishment anymore. And now the company that goes in to do the refurbishment has been laid off. They've now got the same problems, but with debt, which they owe us in the form of a loan, and debt which they own in form of tax, deferred tax, because they went and spent that as well, thinking that they would get it back on a building that now is no longer required. So on top of that, I was looking into the baby boomers. Now, the baby boomers are one of the largest generations, or they are the largest generation. Basically, after the war, everyone came home, did a bit of hoo-ha, and we had the massive boom in the population. The UK, the baby boomers make up for about 23% of the country. In the US, they make up for about 27% of the country. So between the US and the UK, that's 50% of the population in those two countries. Okay. And what that means is that is a huge, if you imagine a snake that's eaten a goat, and you see the goat going through the snake's body, that's how the baby boomers have moved through. It's such a big portion. It's such an obvious, gleaming portion of the population moving through time. And in fact, Richard Branson's basically built his empire on following the baby boomers. That's how that's how he's done so well. He started with condoms, then he started with music, and then he went into hippie music and all the kind of music labels, and then he went into travel, and then he went into gyms, and now he's going into and then he went into finance, and now he's going into cruise ships, and I think he's going into retirement homes now. So he's literally built Virgin off of riding that wave of the baby boomers. And now they're coming through to the end. What does it mean when 50% of the US and the UK are baby boomers? Well, also, 80% of the baby boomers are millionaires. And what does that mean? Well, they're millionaires they're equity millionaires. So it's either in business or property. So what about then when they all of a sudden use this recession that's coming to say, I've been through 2 of these already. There's no way I'm doing it again. I'm going to retire. I'm going to flog everything I own. I'm just going to go and live the rest of my life and be happy without all this crap to deal with. I'll give my business away. I'll give my property away. And those people are the ones that own those properties. They're going to be the ones that's trying to shed those properties, but they won't. And if they won't be able to get rid of them as quickly because no one wants them. No one wants them. And they won't want to give it down and give it to their children or their grandchildren because they won't want them. They can't get rid of them. Instead, it'll be a huge debt for them. And the only way that that's going to, if you're in construction or you're in the project business, you're really safe in kind of hospitals or commercial buildings that are being changed into residential buildings or retirement homes even. But other than that, I think we're going to see a massive dip in commercial properties, which are owned by baby boomers, which baby boomers are trying to flog off, and no one wants them because we've got millennials who don't want to be stuck in a house. They want to travel and be nimble and flexible, and they don't want illiquid assets. So it's going to be a very, very interesting time. I think people who need to be thinking big picture can't because of the situation they're in, which is a bit of a catch-22. But I would really encourage anyone who's, considering getting a loan or considering taking drastic actions because of what you've heard, or someone deferring their tax, or someone thinking about going into property, or whatever it might be. I just want you to please just try to think a little bit bigger. Try to think longer term. I know it's hard because we're in a time of stress and challenge and change, but the more you can think further into the future, the more you can think further into time and space, the more you're going to unlock your potential, and the more opportunities you're going to have, the more you're going to be able to do well out of this economic downturn. I know that is a lot, and I know I ranted on a lot there, but I had a lot on my mind. This has been getting progressively, it's unfolding very, very fast over the last week, and I just wanted to share some thoughts with you, really. I guess there's not really any action steps other than if you're thinking about how to get out of this hole, focus on how you can serve people, right? We've had a massive boom in Zoom technology because everyone's at home doing remote meetings. We've had the Netflix subscriptions go up. We've had more people than ever scrolling through social media. If there is ever a time that you can go and serve people with your message and get in front of people, it is right now. My advice is don't bury your head in the sand. Provide value to people. You see so many people running around going, oh, how is this going to affect me? What am I going to do? How am I going to live? How am I going to cope? What's my job going to look like? Instead of thinking, how can I actually go and help people? People that serve other people will always do well. They'll always do well. And when we're in times like this and we're going into animalistic thinking, all we want is trust. We're going to want to give our money and our attention to people we know, like, and trust. And if you're there and you're showing up and you're serving people, you're going to do all right out of this, okay? The key is to not stop. Don't give up. Keep showing up. Keep serving people and keep providing value. And then, obviously, when it comes down to money, one of the key things you can do is literally focus on saving up that cash cushion. 3 to 6 months living expenses. I said it probably in episode 1 of this podcast, which was a year ago. And the amount of people that have said, if it wasn't for that, I would be in a much worse situation right now. But thank God that I saved that. Because it's allowing me to ride this through, and I'm not going to have to shut down my business. I'm not going to have to shut down my, change my lifestyle. I'm just going to ride it through. So learn to get that in place. Learn to automate your banking if you need to. If you need more advice on this, go and listen to episode 1 and right the way through this podcast. Go and binge on this podcast over the next few days. And if you're interested in learning more about this, you can join the Facebook group, okay? www.tiersoffreedom.com/mastermind, and you'll be accepted into that Facebook group sooner. There's a little waiting list, but you'll be accepted in eventually. So that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share this with anyone you think it's going to be valuable to. And until then, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I'll see you then.
Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.